everybody. So today is Motivational Monday with Desperation to Faith. This is my second time moving forward with this topic. I have my guest speaker here, Angelina. She's a good friend of mine. She's going to be touching on the topic from her perspective, from her testimony and her point of view of how she properly endured some spiritual and natural challenges with being married to someone who hasn't completely surrendered their life to God. So what I'm going to have her do is first just introduce herself. So you want to share with us a little bit about yourself, Angie?
Hi, Facebook.
She is so silly.
My name is Angelina Barr. I'm 29, right?
I think you're 29. Yeah, because I'll be 28 this year, so you got to be 29.
Yes, I'm 29. I'm married, mom of 3. I'm a housewife, so I do homeschooling and all that jazz right now. I guess you can say I'm also an ordained minister.
She is an ordained minister.
Yeah. That's about it.
That's it? That's it? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started with the question. So the first question I have is, how long have you been saved? And when I say saved, guys, I mean like completely living the lifestyle of having a true relationship with God, committing and dedicating herself to God. So.
That's the dumpster trucks. Well, I guess it's just the trash man.
It's just the babies, y'all.
Sorry, I got little ones. Okay, so the question was how long I've been saved.
Yeah.
So I've done so I did the Lord's Prayer when I was little. I don't know. I was probably like 7 or 8, I think.
Really?
Yeah, with Katrina, because I was scared of the dark, and I thought like monsters or demons or whatever was in my bedroom watching me, and so I was really scared. And then my older sister Katrina was like, well, she was explaining to me that when you're saved, that the Holy Spirit and Jesus can protect you and all this stuff. And so she's like, well, do you want to give your heart over to the Lord? And then, Sabrina was scared as well. So me and Sabrina did the sinner's prayer that night on the spot.
So wait, you were 7, so Sabrina had to be like what, 8?
This is a guesstimation on the age. I don't know my true age. I was under 10 because I was still living in Pontiac. So I could have been like 7, 8.
Okay.
So, something like that. I don't know the real date. But I was never bad. I mean, my dad always taught us how to pray and live for God, and so I guess that would be my answer.
So since 7, about 7, 8 years old, that she know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is, what is your background or upbringing concerning church?
I was raised in church, always going to church. I was actually born on Sunday. So
Lord.
You knew I was going to live for the Lord. I was born on Sunday.
God said we got to get her started early.
So I'm pretty sure I was at church probably the next week.
Yeah.
So I've always been in church. We was in church, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Friday nights. I think some Wednesdays were thrown in there, some Tuesdays.
Wow.
I grew up in church. Like, I remember when I was in high school. Okay, shh, be quiet. Go get the remote. So when I was in high school, I remember one time, it was spring break, and I went down to Ohio because my dad was going to be preaching down there. Mm-hmm. And so that was my spring break, going to
while he preached.
Going with my dad while he go preach, while everybody else is doing, tropical vacations. I was in church. Yeah. And so I remember I was in the 9th grade, and I came back to school, and a girl was like, so what did you do during spring break? And I was like, I went to Ohio. Then she was digging deeper. She's like, what did you do in Ohio? And I was like, I went to church. And she was like, "That's not a vacation." And
Oh
I'm
my
just like, "Well,
That was
that's
my vacation.
Yeah. I went out to eat after." Like,
I had a little bit of fun.
yeah, that's all I know. That's all
Well,
we know.
you know, it's funny because I think I overheard my Aunt Ron and a couple other people from out of the church. They talk about how y'all had church Sundays, some type of Bible study was going on through Tuesday, Wednesday. You had prayer, so
Yep,
she lived in that
Fridays.
time. I mean, I was born too, maybe a couple years after, a year or some after, but however, she was there every day, every Sunday, every Friday.
Yep.
I got to
Couldn't
get a
skip.
little scapegoat,
Nope.
but she had to be there.
Couldn't even go to Friday night basketball games or football games. None of that.
So my next question is, what is your husband's upbringing concerning church?
He was actually raised Catholic.
Okay.
But they weren't going on a weekly basis. And then I think when he was maybe middle school or high school, his family completely stopped going to church. I think he was kind of forced to go to, like, they call it like catechism or whatever. But his family are more religious, not like
Lifestyle, relationship type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. So my next question is, so first, when did you and him meet? And then how did you know that he was the one?
Well, I don't know exactly when we met because we went to middle school together.
Oh, okay.
So it was nothing significant of where I like remember the first time I talked to him or the first time I met him.
Right.
I don't remember. I think we did have gym class together when I was in the 7th grade, but I liked other dudes.
Oh, God.
I wasn't paying him no mind. And then, I'm sorry, I'm trying to help out my baby right now.
That's okay. She said she's a mother, at home mom. She got to make sure the kids is together.
And so we had choir class in 8th grade together. So that's kind of where our friendship kind of started. But it wasn't like, I'm going to hang out with you after school. It was just like, we in class, we talk, we're friendly.
Okay.
And then the same thing in high school, we had classes together. I moved away. And then when I was 20, I was working in the mall, and I actually ran into him in the mall. Well, I was on my lunch break, and I was running late, but I saw him walking with this girl, and I'm like, I think that's Larry. And I'm like, I didn't see him in years. I had moved away, and I was 20, so I probably ain't seen him in like, 4 or 5 years. And so I was like, and then I was like, should I go say something to him, or should I just go back to work? Because I was running late.
You running late.
I was running late to clock back in. So then I saw he was walking on the side. I had to go anyway. So I just threw out the rest of my stuff, my trash. And then I walked up to him, and I was like, Larry? And then he turned around, and he's like, hey. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, man, he got cute.
Oh, my Lord.
No, like, I always thought he was cute, but I thought he was too nerdy. But, like, in high school, I thought he was too nerdy. I thought he was, too lame.
Okay. So he grew up about this time.
He grew up. So when he turned around, the chiseledness in his jaw had happened, and he looked more like a man. And then my instant reaction was, you look like a man now. Yes. So then we talked for a minute or so, then I like strutted back to work.
Oh my goodness.
Because I figured, he might have been looking, so I walked.
Which he most likely was. He most likely was.
I went back to work, and then, what was it? 2 hours later, when I went on my next break, I saw he had Facebook messaged me. And then we went back and forth a little bit, and then he asked for my number, and then we texted the rest of the day. We went out. I think that was, I don't know, it could have been like a Monday or Tuesday or something like that. We went out that Saturday, and then we've been together ever since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So one part of that question I don't think you got to was, how did you know that he was the one?
Oh, well, I didn't for a while, but I kept dating him, and I'm like, You know, he was a nice guy, and he was very respectful. He was really different from the guys that I was used to, like, guys talking to me. Like, I know I'm in church. I should have met nice. You know, you would think that nice church guys would be available, but like, you would think you think somebody's nice, but then, like, you know, he act like a good safe boy, but then, like, he might text you something inappropriate.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that makes sense.
Yes, and then, like, he wasn't inappropriate with me at all when we were dating. He was very respectful of my morals and my beliefs and stuff. And he started coming to church, and he was actually a little involved in stuff, but and we were dating for a long time. And then I remember one day I was just kind of praying, and I just kind of felt like he was going to be my husband. I can't remember exactly how far along we were dating, but like we were probably dating for like 2 or 3 weeks. And Sister Sharon had called me out. She was praying for me, and she was like, she's like, I see you getting married. And she's like, and I feel like God's going to do a really quick work. And we weren't even official at that time. I think we went on like 3 dates or something. So when she said that to me, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's him or somebody else. But then, like, we just kept vibing. We just kept dating. And then, like, later on, like, you know, when he was talking to, you know, he had mentioned marriage, and I was already kind of feeling like it, but I didn't say nothing.
Right.
But the more I prayed about stuff, the more I kind of felt like that's where God was
leading you to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in so many words, you got your confirmation from God that this was your husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my dad was praying on it, because he was like, you know, at first he had a problem with it, because, you know, I was hanging out with this guy, and he's like, who's this guy? And so at first, like, you know, probably like a month or so into us hanging out, my dad was kind of like very like, and like, oh, who's this dude or whatever. And then like Katrina had told me that God was just like, leave him alone. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
But he just, you know, he didn't feel like he was my husband or anything at that point. But like, God told him to shut up. Yeah. And so I guess you can say that was another confirmation. And then when we were already engaged, my dad he had called me out, and he's like, you know, God's gonna make you happy, and that's between Larry and God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got your confirmation, basically.
Yeah.
So my next question was, I didn't get to write it down, but my next question was, so you said the upbringing for you two was different.
Completely different.
So with that being the case, our topic is pretty much just to touch on the different life challenges that you face with, you know, having the two different upbringings, rather if it be spiritual, rather if it be natural, something that you believe that with other people, if they're in that space of having two different upbringings concerning, I don't really want to say religious, but I'll say more so beliefs. How did you endure those challenges anyways, instead of saying how to properly, because I know each relationship is different. So you can't really say how to properly endure those challenges, but basically, how did you endure the challenges?
Me personally, I feel like
I'll fix it.
I feel like a lot of praying. What? Okay, go down. Okay, I feel like a lot of praying is kind of the way to do it. I'm close with a lot of my sisters. But every day is still a learning experience. I believe in always growing, always changing, and I'm a big believer in know better, do better. Yeah. So I always try to pay attention to what I look at people, and I feel like everybody can teach you something. Some will teach you what not to do. Some will teach you what you should do. Right. So I just take different things from other people. I read a lot. When we were dating, he was more, I guess you could say, more spiritual and stuff like that. And then after we got married, after a while, he kind of like, I guess what somebody would say, kind of like backslid a little bit.
He took a step back.
Yeah, and so that was challenging, and some things occurred, and it was, I mean, just a lot of stuff. And then, like, of course, his mental health battles. But, I mean, but every day is a learning experience. But I think prayer, and gospel music, gospel music will help you get through a lot of stuff.
That's the truth. That's the truth. I think at one Bible study actually that we just had, Katrina was teaching us about worship. We were talking about worship, and I was telling her how I thought it was just such a blessing. Even like sometimes how we take the small things, for granted, but her bringing it up in the Bible study session helped me to think about how a lot of elders will always tell us, if you can't think of anything else to do, just to worship or just to praise God, and that will help you through whatever it is that you were enduring. And so, you saying that, the gospel music, you praising and worshiping God, you praying even just in your time through, it helped you with those challenges that you were facing. You know what I'm saying? It was just something that simple, and I think a lot of people, they fail to understand how much just praying, worshiping, praising, and spending that time with God can help you through those life challenges that you're facing. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm also a big believer in what you put in you comes out of you. Like, sometimes I think as Christians and believers, we need to watch what we're putting into our bodies.
Right.
And like one thing, I'm still working on some TV shows, but I did, like, I used to be one of them girls. I used to watch Love and Hip Hop. I used to watch that horror TV show. I would skip the dirty scenes.
No,
but
I horror TV show.
I forgot the name of it, but they have several seasons of it, and it's like each season is like something different. Like the first one was a haunted house, then the next one was a haunted asylum. Oh my gosh, Horror Story, American Horror Story. That's the one.
Okay.
Like I cut that show out. I cut out like a Love and Hip Hop. I used to watch Little People of LA, and like none of them are really edifying. And I still watch a few like cop shows, or like I watch one hospital show, but I cut a lot of trash out. And then also music. Sometimes I feel like music will affect you more than TV, at least for me.
Yeah.
Because like when you hear a song, especially if it's catchy, it keeps playing over and over into your brain. And so if you're listening, like a lot of people would say, oh, well, I listen to music for beats. Okay, well then if you just strictly listen to music for beats, then how come you can't listen to Christian music?
Right,
like I hate when Christians say that, like, because I'm like, the same beats you find out in the world
is what they use for
you can find in Christian music. Like, tell me which artists you like, and then I can probably find you somebody, a Christian version of what you listen to. But like when you listen to songs about, like, I know this is off topic, but
no,
like,
you fine.
About, they talk about sex, they talk about partying, they talk about drinking. Like that's what's kind of going to get into you.
That's what's going to get in your spirit.
Yeah, and then but when you listen to songs saying I'm blessed, I'm an overcomer, you can get through all things. I love Ty because I feel like a lot of his stuff, like,
yeah, I know that's your favorite. Yeah. You always talk about him. I'm like, I know you like him.
I know some people don't like. I know some of my sisters don't like his style. Yeah. But I'm like, I love that song. God will work it out, because when you actually get down to the actual lyrics, it's like, no matter what I don't know every lyric word for word, but basically the song is like, no matter what you're going through, like God will work it out. Yeah. Any type of situation, He will work it out. And so like when you sit in there and you're listening to that type of music, and then especially when you going through something, and instead of saying tonight's gonna be like something like that, you listening to God will work it out. Any type of situation like that, you get that going in your mind, and you'll start doing it. And that's I'm on a fitness journey right now, and that's one thing that's actually helped me.
That you listen to that song.
Listening to gospel music in general, because it's all uplifting.
Right.
And so I'm trying to be a better person in many different areas of my life right now. But that's one thing that helped push me, because I'm like, okay, we gonna get it. Jesus, like, it's like.
You getting it for Jesus?
Yes. And it also, that's a good way to slip in your prayer too,
Yeah,
while you're
that's
sitting
true.
there
That's
working
true.
out.
That's true.
So you're doing kind of,
2 in 1. That's honestly something that God has taught me to do in time of like with me working, being so busy. I incorporate my praise and worship time with me just doing hair, whatever it is that I'm doing. And I tell my customers, because sometimes they come and, they may not know anything about God, you know what I'm saying? But I have my praise and worship music on and I'm doing their hair and I might just begin to speak in tongues, you know what I'm saying? I'll do it mildly under my breath because I don't like to surprise anybody.
Shut
or
it
anything.
up.
I don't like to surprise anybody, but I'm like, this is my time when I praise and when I worship or whatever. So I totally can relate and I do agree. Like it is definitely like the praising and worshiping while you're doing different things does help with a lot of stuff. So my next question that I have, how did you handle dealing with people, the shift, you know what I'm saying? Because like you said, when y'all first got started, he was in his relationship with God, but then after some time he pulled back. So what was the approach as far as like with other people maybe having comments and different things? How did you deal with that?
Well, I feel like my family wasn't like hard on me or nothing, just like keep praying,
Yeah.
But like the issue was actually more with my in-laws, because I think naturally they wanted him to continue being Catholic.
Okay.
And so they had made comments. One time they even suggested that I leave the church. Or
your church.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I, like, at one point he had started going back to church with his family. And so in the Catholic Church, when you are married, if you're married and your marriage wasn't blessed by the church, then you can't take communion or like do certain things in the church.
In the Catholic Church.
Yeah, in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So in your marriage has to be blessed by a priest, and you
Okay.
have to like take classes or something like that to get the
get the blessing, basically.
Get the blessing from the church. And so like I was told I was selfish. I know I'm spilling the tea. I don't think they on your stuff, so
no.
But I was basically told I was selfish because I didn't want to go through the classes and stuff to be blessed. But like, to me, it seemed like they wanted to indoctrinate me when I looked into it. And like the Catholic Church also wants you to basically promise that you'll raise the kids Catholic. And that was like one thing, even before we got married and even when we got pregnant, like Larry even agreed with me. Katrina said sip sip. That was something we always talked about. I'm like, he was like, I'm not gonna let my mom take the kids to the church. And then when he did like the 180, then he was like, oh, I wish I could do this or whatever. So I mean there's been challenges in that, and now he don't even go to the Catholic Church no more. And so it's like
life shifts, things happen.
It's so like I'm like I don't want to, and I didn't even want them going with their grandparents or their father to the church because I don't want to didn't cause confusion.
Yeah, you didn't want to confuse them
because it's a difference. So I mean, I'll be honest. There was some crying, obviously, because you feel like everything just like
go on one side.
Yeah, and then it's like everything completely shifts from what we had already agreed on. And so I kind of felt a little betrayed, to be honest. And then, but there was some crying, obviously praying, and waiting patiently, I guess you could say, for changes.
So basically, in so many words, you're saying you just, you try to find a balance of just pretty much compromising with you and him, which y'all agree, but however, standing and sticking to your grounds and your roots of what you desire for your family, and no matter what other people may have thought or whatever other people may have said, she stuck to what she believed and what she felt was best for her family. And so how did you pretty much deal with just like shutting off the outside noise and just, you know what I'm saying, like keeping to just you making sure that you have peace with you and your husband and your family, and just shutting off the outside noise?
Well, I'm human and I'm a little sensitive sometimes, so like I won't lie here in front. But being honest, like sometimes I still struggle with comments that people say about like from his side. But honestly, I'm talking it out with some of my family and praying and basically trying to give it over to God. Sometimes it's hard to fully surrender your hurts and your feelings. So it's still it's a continuous work in progress, and then trying to learn to ignore. But sometimes it's still hurtful, because it's kind of like, y'all knew how I was when like Larry's known me since I was like 13. So it's like,
so they know your upbringing.
Yes, and then like I mean, and they've known me for a long time too, because me and Larry been together since he was 20. I was 20. I had just turned. I was a month into 21 when they met me. So it's like, y'all done been knowing me for almost 9-10 years. So it's like,
you know who I am.
Yeah, like I shouldn't have to change myself to appease y'all. When y'all not even living right yourselves.
No, I get it.
Sip.
Trina is silly. So another question that I have was, just moving forward, from the different spiritual and natural like challenges that you face and enduring them, and just pretty much getting over those hurdles. What would you share with somebody else of how they could do it? They can do it. We know that, every relationship is different. But if they are someone that is already in a marriage with someone being raised with a different upbringing from them, or not being saved, and or if they can prepare themselves before getting into marriage, making sure they take the proper steps to not have to go through certain things. Oh God. Oh Lord.
No, I mean, I don't want to say something in a way where it sounds like I would take back my life, because I wouldn't. I love my husband, I love my children dearly. I would never replace them. But I mean, honestly, if it's not like, I mean, everybody has a relationship with God, but really seek God. If you're not already married, there's nothing holding you to that person. If you don't already have kids, there's nothing holding you to that person. So, I mean, the Bible does talk about being unevenly yoked, and I know people might be like, oh, well, you just said, he was raised Catholic, but, like, I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, because everybody has a different temperament, and, like, not every, I mean, I know my situation's not for everybody, but I'm just saying, if you don't already have those ties, if you, like, don't necessarily feel like God is saying this is the one, then I would suggest maybe not to do it. Because, like, sometimes I think people rush into marriage thinking that once they say I do, things will change, but that's not the case. Like, people don't change just because there's a ring on their finger, or like people don't change just because you have a child. Like,
that's true.
It just complicates things even more. So that's maybe one thing I would probably say. If you're already in it, like, you already married, like, I'm not a person that's huge on divorce unless, like, somebody's gonna, like, murder you or something. I'm definitely a believer in okay, just put it in there. She's so
like, cute. I got my bowl, my ice cream.
I'm not a huge believer in divorce, unless it's like an extreme situation. So if you already married, I mean, you married, so married. Do whatever you have to work it out. Like, I think, I don't know if this is huge in the Black community, but I'm also a big believer in therapy, okay? Whether it's with your pastor or like with an actual psychiatrist or
Yeah.
therapist or something like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely am a believer in therapy. I'm a believer in talking to trusted people
Yeah.
you can trust,
You can trust.
who's not going to be running your business in the streets. Have a trusted friend or something you could, like somebody that you need somebody that you can lean on when times get hard, depending on, even like spiritual stuff. Like I can't talk spiritual stuff with somebody who's not spiritual. You know what I mean? They're just not gonna understand. It's gonna go over their head.
Yeah.
So you gotta have like, some spiritually somebody you can lean on. And then a friend you can also lean on. It could be the same if you're lucky.
Yeah. Prayerfully so.
Yeah.
We don't always get the same in one boat.
Right.
That's
true. Because sometimes church people be so
That's
gossipy.
That's true. That's true.
So that's another thing. Worship. Like I said, when I turn on, sometimes I have like overactive imagination or whatever. So like, if I'm just sitting there praying and it's quiet, I can get distracted by something in the corner of the room. My mind be broke. So it's easier for me to put on like music because it might keep me more focused on task.
Okay.
I feel like it helps me more
to
pray.
Yeah, I'm just
because that's just the way my mind
even if
works.
it's just instrumental, like I like that too, like because it's still
I never tried it.
You never tried it, yeah.
I never
Because
tried
sometimes I try not to get caught up in like the lyrical, music or whatever, because I find myself singing than rather me praying.
But
and so
I'll try sometimes I feel like singing sometimes is also
it is, but I'll try to, like when I'm trying to like really dig in and just seek God, then I'll do my instrumental and then I'll flow into, you know what I'm saying, doing my singing and stuff, or however God leads me. If I sing first and then go into that, whichever, but I have learned that with me doing the instrumental, it's still the harmony and stuff behind it from the instruments.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Still helps or
is
whatever.
Is it hard to give it to the Lord?
Oh, she said, yes, it is hard to give it to the Lord. I'm sorry, y'all. We
ain't been watching.
Katrina
just being shady.
She said, when you want to preach again?
Honestly, I would say yes, Shirley. At least for me, I feel like it's almost like a stepping process.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like sometimes you gotta cry it out. Sometimes you gotta talk it out. Some people like to write. Sometimes you gotta write it out.
I like to do the writing too.
But I feel like it's a process. Like I said, I'm not perfect because sometimes if you catch me off guard,
Lord.
I still might. Some stuff that happens.
We all
people
human.
say stuff.
We all human,
so it's my first reaction is like, what? It's like, what you say about me? Like, what you want me to do? So I would say, at least for me, yes. I feel like I'm a lot better than what I was even a year ago.
Yeah.
Because, I might try to check somebody or at least confront somebody or something. Sometimes, not always. My check-in ain't everybody else's check-in.
Yeah.
But somebody hurt me. I'm like the type of person I need to talk it
out.
Like why did you say this?
Yeah.
What was your intent?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense because some people, they really try to stay away from type of conversations like that. She said, yes, I cry or listen to music to get focused.
Me too. Me too. I do the same.
She said, Katrina said, what are your go-to scriptures or biblical books? I had to look like, hold on, wait.
She trying to, Bible scholar over here.
My
God. Oh man, probably. I think it's like Philippians 4 and 6, or maybe.
She's like,
let me. I don't like questions on rip. Yeah, you shady. I'm joking. But I think it's in the Philippians.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 4. Don't quote me because I said I think.
What is talking
but
about?
it's meditate on all things that are lovely, all things pure,
okay.
like stuff like that. Because I really do try to do that sometimes. I'm like, sometimes when things are getting to me, sometimes I have to sit and like not let myself go down that depressed route, because I used to deal with heavy depression when I was younger and suicidal thoughts and all that stuff when I was a teenager. So I try not to let myself get too worked up, but like meditating on like what Apostle Paul talked about, on all things that are lovely, all things that are good, all things that are pure. Because then I can sit there and be like, you know what, I am blessed, not to like elevate myself like that, but I'll start
to uplift your spirit.
I just some people be like, oh, she thinks, I just don't want nobody to think like that.
Yeah, no.
But like I'll sit there and be like, you know what, I do have 3 beautiful children. Like I do have, I may not be living in like the home that I want, but we do own a house. A condo, but or I'll just bring up my kids, my husband, the fact that I can stay home and teach my children, because some people don't have that option.
Yeah, that's true.
And just like not going hungry. Then I'll start thinking about people who, or even simple things like I can walk.
Yeah.
Because we overlook certain things that we don't even think about is a blessing. We'll just kind of overlook it because it's normal to us.
Yeah, that's true. Because you have it.
Yeah,
you're used to using it.
Yeah, but let you catch a cold, and you like, God, I thank you for this normal breathing, this normal breath. Or
I'm glad I can see.
Yeah. And then like one time, something in our shower was messed up, so we had to. For one day, I had to take a cold shower, and I was so mad. I'm like, man, I gotta take a cold shower. And Larry had to take it off to turn the knob back to. He had to take off the knot thing or something, but it really put it in perspective
like
when I'm
need that hot water.
Yes, I'm really sitting here struggling, but then sometimes I was also still thinking at the same point, and I'm like, you know what? There's women in Africa who have to walk miles just to get water.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here up in America.
How many days do it take for them to even be able to actually have water?
Yeah, and then some of them don't have cleaning water. And then we sitting over here, there's people starving, and we can just pull out our phone and call DoorDash. Not to sound uppity or nothing like that, but I'm just saying there's so many things in our life that we overlook
and we take for granted.
That are blessings. So there's just like even bare minimum simple things that I ate today is a blessing. Yeah. I can talk, I can hear, I can walk, I can see. There's so many daily things that we overlook that can help us in, I think, our journey to happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what else did Katrina say. Has your experience inspired your parenting and or lessons that you have will instruct your children on?
I guess. I'm always trying to learn and trying to grow, because not just within my marriage, but also being a better parent. Because I took some psychology. I took maybe 3-4 psychology classes in high school, and I know Katrina might throw some shade. She's like, "Oh, you always talking about psychology?" But it's just a study of behavior, really, and why we do the things we do. And a lot of people operate out of hurt. Hurt people.
Yeah.
And so when even things when it comes to beating our kids, and not saying I'm an anti-whooping, but I'm not old school where you gotta pop a child for everything. See, she said, here we go. Just learning, I like to learn their personalities and learn what works best for that child, because some, like my son, he don't really respond if you pop him or anything like that, but sometimes he works better when you actually sit down and talk to him. Yeah. Now Sophia, I might just have to yell at her, Sophia, do this or something like that, and she'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Serena, I'm still learning her. She too I ain't learned her yet. We still working on it, but I try to always learn and grow. With as far as my situation goes, I definitely want to make sure, to instill in my kids that make sure you marry somebody on your level or above your level. Mm-hmm.
Don't settle.
Don't settle. Don't go lower. If you spiritual, I don't think you'll ever, not saying you won't be happy, but you won't be satisfied with your spouse not living for God. Because how can you? Because like, if they don't surrender to Jesus, they go into hell. So how can you truly be satisfied? Like, if you really love that person, you won't be satisfied until they give their life over. So, I mean, just teach my children that.
As you should, you should. One thing that I wanted to touch on that you were talking about is therapy, because a lot of people we know now today don't really like to take on the thought of inquiring therapy to for their own personal life and or for other people. And I think that it is very important, especially, whether being married or unmarried, before even preparing for marriage, if there's things that that you need help with and you feel like you can't talk to anybody in your family about, if you don't have a relationship with God, and these are just challenges that you find yourself not being able to overcome. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. I think a lot of people need more encouragement to do those things so that you have somebody to sit with you and help you walk through those problems. A family member of mine was talking to me about them doing therapy, and the thing that I loved about it the most was like the couple things that the person was sharing that the therapist helped them get down to the root of. I had to go through with my teaching of the Holy Spirit, but if you don't have that relationship, then where do you get it? And so I do think that going to therapy is a good first step of getting down to the things that you need to overcome and that you may be going through. So I just wanted to touch on that. I felt led to touch on that when you said that. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. Know that you can be able to have somebody else to go and talk to help you walk out those difficult life situations that you may be enduring. And I mean, just know that it's okay, because I feel like a lot of people try to put up the stigma and make you think like, oh, if you go to therapy, oh, something wrong with you, or blah blah blah, or whatever.
Are you crazy?
And,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because that's literally something you can't help.
If it's something that you need help with, you just need to go and get the help. But I would like to just encourage people and let them know, like, one, of course, for me, my walk in my relationship with God, that's my lifestyle. So it requires me, anytime that I'm faced with anything, I spend that time with God. I take it to God and I talk to God about it. But if you are somebody who don't have that type of relationship and you feel like you don't have anybody around you that you can trust, try therapy. If that, like I said, that's a first step. Especially if you don't
know anybody that you can trust. Some people will listen to you, but then will tell your business to everybody they know.
That is the truth.
Yes.
So I just think that it's a start to your process of healing. And one thing that I'm gonna say this, and then we're going to close out. But one of the things that God was dealing with me about concerning my channel was transparency, and it is a form of healing and therapy, because of course the foundation is God, and seeking God and going to God for the things that you need. He's a provider of whatever it is that you need. But you first have to be willing to open up your mouth and talk about it. Open up your mouth and begin to speak about the things that you want or that you need. God already knows, but until you begin to open up your mouth and let him know, like, hey, Dad, I need help with this, or hey, God, Father, you know what I'm saying, whatever is your relationship with him, begin to let him know out of your own mouth what it is that you need help with. Because one of the things that I have discovered in my time, in my journey with God, I've learned that there's a lot of people, whether being saved or unsaved, that has difficulties with being transparent, that have difficulties with sharing the things that they have endured and that they have gone through in life. And honestly, God was dealing with me about it 4 o'clock this morning. You fail to understand that you're taking the glory away from God when you hold back from being able to share with other people how how he has brought you through and what he has done to bring you to where you are. So the purpose of my channel is to share with you guys, be transparent with you guys, and help you all to know I still go through things. I'm still challenged with things. There's other women and men that are in the church that are saved that goes through life challenges and goes through different things. And sometimes, honestly, it may even be a little bit more rough for us because we are in a place of being able to understand both spiritual and natural. So I never want anybody out there to think that, oh, because I'm saved and I'm living my life for God, that everything is glitz and glam, because it's not. We all go through different things. We're all being faced with different life challenges. You just got to know that God is there for you to help you through whatever it is that you're going through. And be okay with opening up your mouth and telling somebody, hey, I need help. Like I said, like Angelina said first, make sure that it's somebody that you know you can trust. And if you feel like you can't trust anybody, I would first recommend try God, but if you don't have that relationship, try therapy. God is the healer, and he is the healer. He don't mind being there for you and giving you that help, but you got to let him know that you need it. You got to open up your mouth and let him know that hey, this is what I need. I need you right now in this area. So I just would like to encourage everybody, as I'm going to continue on having these live video sessions every Monday. It's for the Motivational Mondays to get you started for the week, just sharing with you some transparency and different things of how we've overcome life and spiritual challenges, so that you can know you're not the only one that's being faced with things, but you can still overcome it. You can still endure those challenges. And so I thank you all for coming in and tuning in with us today. I thank you for my guest speaker, Angie. Although she was a little bit shy, we was a little bit rough today, but that's okay. But I'm blessed in her walk, because this is coming out of her comfort zone for her. You know, she's not big on getting on camera and just doing anything. So to get here and share her testimony of how she's overcome things, how God has helped her with the life challenges, that she's been through, whether spiritual or natural, is a blessing to me. And I just want y'all to know, I don't do anything without the leading of God. I began to do this channel because this is what God has brought me to do. He wants, just people to know that we do this for the glory of God. Every bump and hurdle that we've been through is to give God glory. So we're not getting on here to share our life challenges and then boast about the good. Or we're not getting on here trying to make it seem like everything is good. We're sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, just so you can know you can get through it too. And so that's all that I have. You got anything else you want to share, Angie?
I'm just surprised I said so never. Oh my Lord. No, I mean, I would just agree. I agree with you with basically, if you can't, that would strongly suggest going to God, because that's ultimately what helped me. And I'll just give a quick testimony of something. Okay, so I know I mentioned earlier about how I used to struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts. And so I was number 6 out of 7 kids. So when you're the baby in a family, you got older siblings, you naturally will compare yourself to everybody else above you. And my sisters seem like I was fat and awkward, and so my older sisters, they were tall and pretty, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. And then some of my other sisters were my 2 years above me was super smart, on the road every time, teachers would cry about how much they loved her, and I was average student, so it's wah, wah, wah. And so and then it's I just I don't know, I guess I used to compare myself so much, even when I was in school. If I wasn't comparing myself to my sisters, I was comparing myself to my friends. And I went to a white school in middle school, and so when you a little, and I was a little boy crazy too, so when you boy crazy, and I was going to a white school, and I'm black, obviously, I'm a little light, but I'm still black. Shut up, Jonathan, if you get on here. I'm cracking. But it's not really a cool thing to black girls or
Yeah,
you know, with white boys are more secretive if they like to be black because they don't always know if they are allowed to like black girls. And so, you know, I never really had guys barking at my tree, but then like all my friends had like all the guys liking them, and I had like female friends. I had a guy friend who I was like really close with. We used to talk every day for hours on the phone, and he liked some of my best friends, but I liked him. But like his mom like told him like he wasn't allowed to date black girls, and his mom was really mean to me, but she was nice to all the other girls. And so like there was just so many things that came together that would go along with me. It would just feed into my depression. And then like back in the day, I used to listen to like Beyonce and like you know stuff, secular music, and so I would sit there and I would get depressed and be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't love me, and just like everything, like comparing myself to my sisters, people at school, everybody, like I was never good enough. And then and so I would struggle with suicidal thoughts. And I remember one summer my dad had took us to this Christian convention. That's what it was. Christian convention. Like multiple churches. We would go to the Heart Brothers convention. Multiple churches would come around the U.S. and they would come together and have all these services. So I was still a preteen. So I went to the preteen services. And I remember I did try cutting. I wanted to like pop pills. Like I was like crazy. Yeah, so not crazy, but I was depressed. I won't say that because somebody might be listening and think that's crazy. You're not crazy. Yeah. You're just going through something. And so I heard this girl, she was 24. I think she was around like early 20s. But she was the leader in the church band for the teenagers. And she gave her testimony about how she struggled with bulimia and cutting and stuff. And I had struggled with anorexia too in middle school. The girl had gave her testimony about how God delivered her from bulimia and cutting herself. And I said, and how she was happy. She was married to like the drummer, and she just looked like she was so happy when she was singing and praising. Yes. And so when I seen that, I said, I need this girl to pray for me. Yeah. Because if God can do it for her, He can do it for me. Yeah. And so I remember they had an altar call that night, and the girl was praying for people, and some of the other adults in the room were praying for children. And I know Sabrina Tina looked at me like I was crazy, but I just went straight down to the altar. And sometimes I avoided the altar. I didn't want God to be like, oh, you ain't been praying. Or like, I didn't want to be like chastised in front of everybody. And so I was just like, I know if this girl prays for me, God will heal me. Yeah. And so I went down to the altar, and the girl, she had the mic. I walked straight to her. And I just broke down and I was crying. And I hate crying.
You got your moment. You gotta have a moment. You gotta have a moment.
And I was crying, and I was crying so hard she couldn't understand everything I was saying.
Yeah. Sophia.
And she just started praying for me.
Go get mommy some tissue.
She started praying for me, and then like the other adults in the room came over because I literally fell to the ground. And everybody was praying for me, and then after that, oh my gosh, I'm doing like a I hate crying. But after that, I didn't feel those thoughts because people don't realize how scary it is to be trapped in your own mind.
Okay.
It's so hard because people don't understand sometimes the hurt that people feel when they're depressed. Yeah. Because you literally feel trapped in your own thoughts in your mind. Yeah. And it's like so dark that you can't even get out. Yeah. And it can really consume you if you're not careful. So I try to be very, I don't let myself get dark or deep anymore because it could just
take you somewhere totally different. Yeah. And I mean, I've never experienced being depressed, but I have heard through many people, like it's something that once you get in spiritually, it's really hard to come out.
It's so really hard. It's so hard because you will literally, when the devil gets into your mind like that, I mean, he will find anything and everything to
Yeah.
use against you. Like
Yeah.
the small, you could drop something on the floor and then all of a sudden your mind's like, you're so stupid, you're so worthless, like
Yeah.
nobody loves you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be something so small that he will use. And that's why it's so amazing when Apostle Paul talked about meditate on all things lovely, all things pure, because the devil will use anything and everything to get you down.
Yeah.
And so that's why God tells you the devil will use the small things to get you down. God can use the small things to lift
Keep
you
you
up.
up. Yep.
And so that's why it's so important, and people don't always realize that. Ooh, I wasn't trying to preach.
No, you fine. You fine.
But yeah, that's just my mini testimony. But I'm crying because I'm still like sensitive about the moment, because that was probably like, I don't know. I know I've been to church. I've been to church all my life, but that was probably like the one. That was the experience that it did impact me like the most.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just glad that, you know, like I said, you were here and sharing, because somebody else needs that. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else needs to know that just like you endured it, just like you overcame it, that they can overcome it too. You know what I'm saying? You never know the mind process of, the thoughts of, you know, somebody else and what they're going through at that time. So, you know, like I said, everything that I do, I'm being led to whatever God, you know, desires, however he desires to use me. And he specifically dealt with me to have Angelina get on. Thanks, Katrina. And so I had no doubt in my mind that God was going to use her. I just told her, I said, just be open and, you know, be led however God desires to use you, because my whole thought process is God needs what we have, what's down on the inside of us. The people that are out there need what God has placed down on the inside of us. And so, you know, like I said, that's been my whole intention and even, you know, purpose for doing this is just to make sure that we can be of help and of service and support to you with whatever you may be going through right now. Mm-hmm. So I think that wraps it up for us. I thank you guys all for tuning in and watching. I will be here again. Actually, very soon, because I have I have Bible study coming up this Saturday. But however, our next Motivational Monday, we will be here next Monday coming, and I will be here again at 1:30. I don't know who my next guest speaker will be at this time, but make sure you guys tune in to watch. If you have any questions or anything, tune in so you can comment and just follow the feed. This will also be posted on my YouTube video at Desperation to Faith.
We going on YouTube.
So make sure you guys look out for that. You can share, like, and subscribe. And I just thank you guys all again for coming and tuning in and supporting us. Thank you all and have a blessed day.